I'm Patrice Roach with Chatting with Patrice. Welcome to the show. Today's guest is Teresa Sanders from CARE. Hi, Teresa. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you very much. It's nice to meet you too.
Great. What is CARE Agency?
CARE is a agency in Fraser, Michigan, and we offer resources and referrals to individuals and families who have life challenges like substance abuse, mental health issues, or just typical daily life challenges. We can give them programs and referrals and resources.
Okay. When you say mental health issues, can you basically kind of define that a little bit more as far as?
Well, a lot of individuals have issues with sadness or depression, maybe bipolar, and if they're worried about it, they need to get a diagnosis. They need help with finding a doctor that fits their insurance, maybe a counselor that could help them with issues like that. Then they can call CARE. We have a huge database of information, and we can find a doctor based on where they're located, who they have as their insurance. And whatever they need, any kind of information that they might need, we can help them with that.
Okay, what if they have no insurance at all?
We can still help them with that too.
Okay.
There are places that will take their patients or people who don't have insurance.
Okay, great. What services do you offer for parents and children?
For parents and children, we have a lot of prevention services, and the one that I'm mostly closely associated with is the parenting classes. I'm the parent education program coordinator there. So I have classes for parents who have kids from birth to 17 years old. We also have anger management for adolescents from 9 to 18. And we break them up into groups, so we have like a 9 to 12, and then 9 to 11, 12 to 13, and then 15 to 18. So then the parents also are part of that, but they have a different class that they go to that runs alongside the anger management class for the kids. We also have a class called Teen Intervene, and it's for teenagers who might be experimenting, not who are addicted, but possibly who are maybe have gotten in trouble in school or with the police or at home, and it's a substance use information education class so that they know exactly what they're doing and can make better choices for themselves.
Okay, great. That's really wonderful. Now, what about anger? I'm sorry. You mentioned anger management for teenagers. Do you have anger management for adults as well?
Yes, we have an adult anger management class. We do. And we also have a support group for women who maybe have trauma from substance abuse or domestic violence. We have a support group for them called Beyond Trauma. And we also have a group for men and women together who might be dealing with trauma, and that's called Seeking Safety. But they're two separate groups so that women can have their own group.
Okay, Seeking Safety. So what is Beyond Trauma about? Can you tell us a little bit about what
It's not educational, it's mostly support. It's an 8-week class.
Okay.
And for all of these programs, we help people who might be financially challenged because we never turn anybody away based on the fees or income. So this group of women get together for 8 weeks, once a week, and they discuss how to move past that trauma or whatever they're experiencing in their lives that's keeping them in a rut, and it helps them to move forward based on the support of the women and the facilitator of the group.
Okay, great, wonderful. So when you mentioned Beyond Trauma, can you define it a little bit more? Like, what kind of trauma? It's like maybe if they had a
Like substance abuse.
Okay.
There's a lot of trauma that you deal with that, and also domestic violence, relationship violence. There's a lot of abuse and trauma in that, and so usually people who come to that support group are also getting counseling, or they may not be, but this group of women helps them deal with, okay, this is what's going on in your life, and this is maybe what happened in the past, so we want to move beyond that, and what are the skills that you need in order to be able to do that?
Okay, great. And that's so great because what I found out is that everything that's happening now really kind of triggers off from the past. And if you don't address it at that time, then it kind of just snowballs and it just grows into our adult life, and you have to take care of it at some time because you have to find a way to heal that. Yeah. So that you can be able to have healthy relationships, especially romantic relationships. You have to find a way to heal that, and it's never too late.
No, it's never too late. You have to also have to heal yourself, you know,
You
so
do.
that you can be happy within yourself and
Yes.
make better choices in everything, because that only doesn't reflect your relationships, it reflects a lot of things that are happening, what you feel you deserve in life, even asking for help. You might not feel you deserve to ask for help because of the trauma that was in your past. So we have to get beyond that in order to make a lot of healthy choices for ourselves.
Exactly. Now, what about therapy? Do you guys have a psychiatrist there?
No, we don't have therapy. We really don't even have counseling there. We typically refer people out for counseling. We might have we have a student assistance center. And sometimes teens from schools or kids from schools will come in, and we might sit with them and talk with them, you know, briefly, just to see what they need in a counselor and to move forward. But we don't do long-term counseling. We don't have a psychiatrist there right now.
Okay, no psychiatrist.
No.
Okay, I'm very big on therapy and psychiatrists and stuff like that. A lot of people stray away from that. They just stray away from that because they feel like if I go to therapy, then someone's going to say that I have a problem. If I go to therapy, then someone's going to say that I'm crazy.
Yeah.
You know, so you have a lot of people that kind of like shy away from that when you really should be gearing towards it so that you can talk to a professional and find out why do you have this behavior. And it always stems from probably childhood. It probably will stem from childhood. I found that out a lot. And if it's not taken care of then it just snowballs. And a lot of times, I know I was born in '69, and so back in those days, there was no such thing as you would go to therapy or your parents would take you to therapy. They'll just say, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. You'll be fine. That is not always true.
No.
That's not always true at all. And so do you find it in a lot of the adults that come to group for trauma that this has been going on for years, like started back in their childhood, or did it just start somewhere within the teenage years or somewhere in there?
I think it varies for people. Some things start in childhood, some things start in adulthood. I typically don't work with the adults in the Beyond Trauma class. I work with the parents in the parenting classes. But what I do find is some of their faulty belief systems about themselves or about parenting does come from their childhood and the way they were parented, because it becomes normalized for them. So when I introduce a skill that is different and makes them feel awkward and uncomfortable, sometimes it's harder for them to learn that skill. But eventually, they do learn. They can see the benefit of it. And that's what I try to reach them with, is that there's a reason why you want to communicate more respectfully. There's a reason why you want to teach your children how to problem solve or have anger management skills, probably because it wasn't taught to yourself.
Exactly.
As you as a child or a teenager. So going forward, we want to teach our kids those good skills. But a lot of times, people will butt up against that. Like, my parents didn't do that. Yeah, and I understand that. That's everybody has their own way of parenting. You know, this is just a different way of parenting, which can help our kids maybe make different kinds of choices than what we made.
Right, that's true. Because what may be dysfunctional for me or something that may be dysfunctional for you may be normal. It may be normal for someone else, and so that's a really good way to look at it. So, how many people come? I mean, do a lot of people come? What's the count? What's the head count for
parenting classes?
Yes,
we typically have smaller groups, like 5 or 6 people that come. Sometimes they're together, parenting partners. Sometimes it's just a parent singly that comes there, wants to learn something else, and they come for all different kinds of reasons. A lot of people will say, I don't need a parenting class because I'm not having any problems, and it really doesn't have anything to do with that. It sounds like it does because everybody knows how to parent, but these classes really are to help kids learn how to make different choices.
Okay.
So for instance, the first time your child might be offered substances like cigarettes or alcohol or marijuana, they're not going to be, it's not going to be done in front of you where you would be able to give your opinion about using substances too early. So kids need the ability to be able to say, no, I don't want to do that. And it's not as simple as saying no to drugs. They need to have a plan for themselves. What are they going to do when they're with their friends and everybody's looking at them and somebody offers them a cigarette or a beer? What are they going to do? They can't just say no because they're teenagers, or they might be 10, 11 years old. And peer acceptance is very important for them. So how do they save face with their friends, do the right thing, and still say, no, I'm not going to drink that beer or smoke that cigarette right now. So that's what I want to teach parents, because I know I didn't have those skills when I was growing up. I didn't know what to do when everybody was looking at me. And that's really internal pressure, like, you know, what should I do right now? Everybody's looking at me. They want me to do what they're going to do. And they want to fit in so bad, so they don't know how to. So when my kids were coming up, I had to teach them, how do you get out of that kind of a situation?
And that's great, because as long as the awareness is there, then it'll come back to their mind and say, oh, well, my mom says that I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to say no. But then if there's no awareness of it there, then I mean, you might say no because you may feel uncomfortable, but then you're probably more perceptive to say yes. Yeah.
Well, because right at that moment you want to fit in. Right at that moment you're not thinking about everything your parents told you about addiction and about how it could hurt you in school later on, or how it could hurt you down the road. They're not thinking that. So what I wanted my kids to think about when they were in that situation is, I could do this, but what would happen if I did this? So if I don't want to do that, what else can I do? And a lot of times they needed a plan B rather than just say no. Well, they probably might not have felt comfortable doing that. So what could you do besides that? And I was always big on making plans with them. And it ended up helping them when they became teenagers later on. You know, my daughter found herself in a situation where she was going to go to a party where I was under the understanding that parents were going to be there, and they really weren't.
That was always my thing. Always checked. Always dropped them off at I always dropped my children off at the party, and I always picked them up. And I always made sure that I spoke with a parent before I left them there. If I got there and the parent was gone to the store, okay, well, I'll wait. Parent never came back. You can't stay.
Yeah. Well, I was in this situation where I did call the parent, and I said, you guys are going to be home, right? Oh, yes, we will be home. There's not going to be any beer there, right? No alcohol, because my kids are not allowed to drink alcohol. They're 15. Oh, no, there's not going to be any alcohol here. Well, when she went to the dance, it was a homecoming dance, and this was a party afterwards. She found out, no, parents weren't going to be there, and there was going to be beer. So she had decided on her own with her girlfriend, I don't want to go there. I'm not putting myself there. What else can we do? Because the conversation came up because she was somewhere at a different party than the one she told me she was going to be at. So her explanation was, this is why. Christina and I didn't want to go there because we knew all those things that you and I talked about weren't really going to happen. So I went to this guy's house. They were going to have a party, and she knew the parents were going to be there. They were going to have food. They were going to be able to do other things. That's the kind of plan that she needed. I wasn't there at the homecoming, obviously, to say, no, Leah, you can't go there. So she knew what her dad's and my expectations were.
Yes.
So she decided to make a different choice, and that's what I want. She was still able to go to a party. It was just a different party with parents there. In the vicinity somewhere.
With parents there.
Yeah.
And that's great. Now, can someone from outside Macomb County access the activities that
the programs? Yes, they can.
Programs?
Yep, we're not restricted to who comes to our programs. We're going to have an event in March, the parenting conference, that's open to all counties. We're going to have a bike path event that's open to all counties, and all of our programs are anger management, beyond trauma, parenting classes. Anyone can really join those classes.
Okay, sounds great. Are there scholarships?
Yes, there are.
Or financial help available for the care programs that you guys offer?
Yes, there are. For the conference and for the parenting classes and the programs that we have at CARE, we don't turn anybody away based on income. So we have scholarships through Great Start Macomb. They fund our early childhood classes for parents who have kids birth to 4 years old, and they provide scholarships. They would also provide scholarships to the parenting conference too, for parents from Macomb County who have children birth birth to 8 years old for the conference, because early childhood is really birth to 8. But the classes are specifically, the classes that I run are specifically for birth to 4 years old.
Okay. What about students can access the programs?
Yes, they do, because we have a student assistance center, and a lot of the school districts in Macomb County, not all of them, but a lot of them have a contract with us.
Okay.
So they pay a fee per student for those students to come and access services, which would be an assessment. They can come in for an assessment to find out if they need help with substance use or with counseling. So that service would be free for them because they have a contract. But even if a parent outside of one of those contracted school districts came and said, I can't afford the treatment, then we would give them a sliding fee scale so that they could afford that. But
And is that based, the sliding fee, is that based on, is sliding scale, is that based on
income?
income? It's based on income?
Yeah.
You guys go off taxes per year, what the parents made per year?
Yeah, what their income is, we would base the fee then on what they make. It's a percentage based on that.
Okay, that's great.
And that applies to our classes too. So, if you know, the classes classes are very low cost, but still, for some people that's a challenge, and we understand that. So the sliding fee would apply to those classes too.
Okay, we'll apply to those classes as well. Okay, do you guys have any special events coming up that you would like to share?
Yes, we do. The Parenting Conference is coming up March 5th at the Macomb Intermediate School District. It's an all-day event, so it starts at 8 o'clock, it ends at 3:30. We are going to have a keynote speaker, Dr. Michael Popkin, who wrote the curriculum that I use in my parenting classes. He's going to be there to talk about teaching children character traits in the 21st century. How do we maintain their character in the 21st century? And then he's also going to have a breakout session called Taming the Spirited Child Without Breaking Their Spirit. And we also have 21 other breakout sessions, and those topics cover autism, ADHD, sleep routines for young children so that they have good health and good success in school. We're going to have a separate breakout session on supporting early learners so they have success in school. But we have many other ones, nutrition. We have 3 different breakout sessions on discipline alone by different speakers. We also have
And these are just some of the topics.
These are some of the topics, but there's 22 topics, and they can look for those topics on our website. They can find those topics. We also have vendors of about 40 other vendors who are going to be there from agencies and from for-profit places that will be able to provide resources too. So we'll have a continental breakfast. We'll have a lunch. Yeah. Yep. And right now.
I may attend.
Yeah, I hope you do, because
22
there's a lot.
topics?
Yeah, there's a lot.
That's a lot.
There's a lot there, and the cost is $40 a person. But again, like I said, we have scholarships available for that. And we also have the Bike Path event, which is going to be on September 24th. That's a Saturday. And it's during the month of recovery, because that's a fundraiser, because a lot of what we do is for parents and families and people who have substance use issues. So this is our big fundraiser for the year. And we are going to have rides in the park, like the 2-mile ride for families and people who want to do the 2-mile ride. Last year, Sander Levin did the 2-mile ride. And we also have a 10-mile, a 25-mile, and a 40-mile bike ride. And this year, we're going to have a 62-mile bike ride. So a lot of people who do biking as a hobby and join events like to come to our do our 62 and our 40-mile to train for the bigger events.
Okay, to train for the bigger events. Yeah. Okay, will there be any activities there for children?
Yeah, we have a little bike thing just for them, where they get to decorate their bike and they get to ride around and have everybody see their bike, and then they can do the 2-mile if they want to with their families. Plus, we're looking to have some other events there, like a bounce house and face painting, things like that.
Oh, okay.
So those are our 2 big events coming up. one in September, one in March.
One in September, one in
Yeah.
March.
And any kind of information, registration that they want to do, they can either call our office or they can go on our website to get information about that.
Okay. Can you tell us just a little bit more about the parenting classes?
Yes, we have them all year. They're basically located in Macomb County, but like I said, anybody can come to them. So I try to have locations throughout Macomb County.
Okay.
And typically they are 4 to 6 weeks long, once a week, like the 0 to 4. For parents who have kids with infants and toddlers and preschoolers. That class is 4 weeks long. So
And the children are able to attend?
Yes, because
Okay.
they go into child care. We have free child care available.
Oh, wow.
And the
Okay.
kids who are in the child care have a special children's program called Paper People. So it's a life skills class for them. So they learn how to communicate, they learn conflict resolution, how to ask for help when they need it. And so those services are all free with that class. And the parents also get a book, and they get if they complete the class and get a certificate on the last day, then they also get a $20 gas card. So typically that
Great.
class ends up being free for them because it's a $20 fee for the class if you don't get a scholarship. And then at the end you get that $20 gas card, so it could be free for them. So then for older kids, they don't attend, it's just their parents. We have no child care for that.
Okay.
But that class, there's a class for parents who have kids 5 to 12. That's called Active Parenting, and that's a 6-week class. So they meet once a week for 6 weeks. And then we have Parenting Teenagers, which is a 6-week class. Plus I have one other class just for adults. It's called Co-Parenting and Divorce. So that typically is for parents who are divorced or maybe who've never been married but are separating and they have minor children, and they want to be able to co-parent moving forward.
That's a great
Yes,
class.
it is.
That's a great class.
Yes, it
Yes, to
is.
move forward to co-parent. A lot of people find it hard co-parenting.
Yes.
I did not for myself. I think the best thing to do is just focus and always keep the conversation on the children. And once the children get older, then the other parent is just really basically out of it because they can speak for themselves.
Yes, they can.
I mean, unless it's really, really an emergency, unless it's really, really, really important. It's really, really important. Then I feel that that other parent should step in. But if it's not really important and the child is past, I would probably say 9, 10 years old, then I think that that child should be able to have a relationship as far as talking to the other parent, whether it's over the phone, whether they're going out together. I don't think that other parent needs to be a part of that. That other parent should be moved on and going on with their lives. Well, both parents should, but then the children are able to still be in both parents' lives.
Yes, that's one thing that that program focuses on, is maintaining relationships with both parents, even if there's conflict.
Yes.
Because as adults, we can see that the greater good are our children. And even if children are teenagers, they still need to have, even more so, need to have both parents in their life. And so what we try to
Structure.
And the structure is keep those parents both involved in their kids' lives, at least a relationship, and keep the conflict out of it. Keep the conflict between you two or between yourself and someone else, like a friend or a counselor. But with your children, always encourage your child to have a relationship with that other parent as much as you can. Yeah.
As much as
So
you
that's
can.
what we
That's
focus
good.
on, how to resolve those conflicts with that other parent so that you can move forward and focus on your healing and the children's healing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because healing doesn't take place overnight,
No,
but it comes.
no change.
If you
takes
work
place
if you
overnight.
work at it, it will come.
Yeah.
If you work at it.
Yes,
And leave the past in the past, because if you
Yes.
don't leave the past in the past, then you become stuck. And you won't be able to move on, and the grudges and bitterness gets in there, and you can't move on with your own life, and that really is just all a waste of time.
Yeah, it
just forgive and move on.
It's healthier for you
It is, and for the children as
and for
well.
the children. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yes,
always
to be able
important.
to at least be cordial and be able to talk in front of the children. I mean, what else do you really have to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're
Mm-hmm.
not talking about what the relationship was or how the marriage was when you were together. You should have been talking about that then.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so really,
Or
what
with a
is it to talk?
counselor. Yeah,
Right? What is it to really talk about
yeah,
anymore? It's over.
yeah. It's
You
over.
know, it's over.
But but some people need help getting, disengaging and learning to move on. It's very hard, and there's things that happen that stop you from disengaging from that person and moving on. And it can include anger. Anger is a way to keep that person in your life and not move on. So sometimes you do need to talk about it, but with somebody who can actually help you see that that's in
Exactly.
your past. And talking with your ex is not going to help you see that there should be an end to it. That should be done with a support group or a counselor, or even a friend can sit there and listen to you
Exactly.
talk about it.
Exactly.
But if you feel like I can't move past this point because the anger is just too intense, then you need somebody to help you do that. But it should never be your children. It should always be somebody outside of that situation.
Yes.
Yeah, because even if you're angry at your ex, your child still needs to have that person in their life.
Exactly.
Unless there's some reason that they can't be, legally they can't be.
Right.
But if there's no other problem than just that person has hurt me and I feel angry, that shouldn't be part of your kid's life. It should be something that they aren't part of, because they have their own relationship with them, and that parent is always part of them. That's part of their
Yes.
flesh and their blood. So one of the things we talk about is, when I hurt my ex, I hurt my children, because they feel part of that. They feel that that person is part of them. So if a person
Exactly.
says something disparaging about their ex, you're also saying it about your child,
Mm-hmm.
because that person's part of them.
Exactly. That's true.
Yeah.
I always say, never say anything bad about the mother to the children,
No.
or the father should never say anything bad about the mother, or vice versa, the father
Right.
to the mother, whichever way that it goes. This conversation that we're having about divorce, it reminds me so much of, I read this somewhere, but I don't remember where I read it at. And it goes a little something like this. I'll paraphrase it. It says, forgiving is giving up the past of how you would have liked it for things to go. It means forgiving it because it didn't go the way that you wanted it to go, or it didn't go the way that you expected to go. So just forgive that, because
Right.
you can't go back to that. So forgiving the past of how you think that things should have been, just accept that it was not, in any relationship really, accept that it was not, for whatever the reason was, and then you just move on.
And it's a process. It's a grief process. Just like if
It
your
is.
spouse had passed away, going through divorce is a process where you have to go through all those stages, and forgiveness is part of it. And forgiveness is not saying what you did was okay.
Was okay.
All it's saying is, I'm not going to let it keep me in a rut anymore. I'm not going to let
Exactly.
it bind me to the past. I'm going to forgive so that I can move on to something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just accept, you just accept that it happened. It's not happening here and now.
Right.
It's just accepting that it did happen in my past, and just won't let it happen again.
Yes.
In my next healthy
Relationship.
relationship.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Healthy for me. Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Great. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, you're
It's a pleasure to
welcome.
speak
You're
with you.
welcome. It's always nice to talk to you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm sitting down today with Karen Sanders. I did it again.
Yes, you did.
Just pick up whenever. We're still rolling.
Okay.
Okay, wait.
All right.
Wait, I did it again.
Okay.
My sister's name is Karen. I
That's
just said
fine.
Karen on the break.
I'm fine
Okay.
with that. Okay.